Next is property change of mixing. So now let's try to understand what is property change of mixing, guys. Okay, so property change of mixing, if you remember the example which we discussed in partial molar properties. Okay, so for the 1 mole H2O, we know that molar volume is 18 cubic centimeter by mole. So suppose if we have a solution of ethanol, pure ethanol, and if I add 1 mole H2O in this, okay, and suppose the initial volume of the total solution was 100 cubic centimeter. Okay, so in layman terms, if we try to understand what is property change of mixing, then you can understand like when I add 1 mole H2O in the solution, then the total volume, logically it should increase by a factor of 18, means it should increase by 118 total volume. Okay, it should be 118. But what happens eventually after when 1 mole H2O enters in ethanol, since nearby molecules, surrounding molecules are different, so its molar volume will reduce to 14 and the overall volume increases by a factor of 14 only. So this difference, if you see, is 4 cubic centimeter by mole. Okay, so this is my property change of mixing. Okay, actually according to the definition, it should be like the actual change minus the ideal change. So minus 4 will be my volume change of mixing. Okay, or the property change of mixing. Similarly for other properties like enthalpy, entropy, Gibbs energy, or how they are changing after going into the solution. Okay, so that is the property change of mixing. So if we know that for any solution, the molar property of the solution I can calculate for as summation of xi into mi. Okay, but if I talk about the ideal solution, it increases by it will be summation of xi into mi bar. Okay, so if you take this difference, okay, so delta m will be equal to summation of xi times of mi bar minus mi. This is the property change of mixing that we defined. Okay. And how we got that? See, for any solution it is the molar property, and if I talk about the real solution, non-ideal solution, then one thing is obvious, that m is not equal to summation of mi into xi. I know that this is not going to be equal, okay, for real solution. So if I want to make it equal, I have to use some kind of multiplication or in addition. So let's say if I add that, I use that in a addition, so it will be like summation of delta m. Okay, and from there you will get delta m is equal to m minus summation of xi into mi, where this m is the molar property of real solution. Okay, and we know that for molar property of real solution is summation xi mi bar. So if you put that value here, delta m will be summation of xi mi bar minus summation of xi mi. So after rearranging that, you will get this. So these are the two ways to find out the molar property change of mixing. One is this, second is this. Okay, and based on these methods, we can classify the molar properties of change, property change of mixing for different properties. Like, so I am writing that directly, or like a simple, if I write for volume. So it has to be delta V is equal to V minus summation of Vi Xi. Okay, or you can say delta V is equal to summation of Xi Vi bar minus Vi. And here, as you can see, for ideal solution, we that partial molar property of the component and its molar property will be same. So for ideal solution, delta V will be 0. Similarly, if you talk about the enthalpy, that is enthalpy change of mixing, this was the volume change of mixing. Volume change of mixing, enthalpy change of mixing. So it will be delta H is equal to H minus summation of Xi into Hi, or you can say delta H is equal to summation of Xi Hi bar minus Hi. Okay, and for ideal solution, that you should know, I am writing directly, I am not doing any derivation for that. For that you can attend the classes. Okay, delta H of mixing will be 0. So that thing should be clear to you. For ideal solution, enthalpy change of mixing will be 0 always. And don't get confused, this is the enthalpy change of mixing, this is not the enthalpy of the solution. Okay, enthalpy of the solution, that is a different thing, like enthalpy of reaction, enthalpy change of solution, and this is enthalpy change of mixing. These are different things, so you don't need to get confused about that. So for ideal solution, this is the enthalpy change of mixing. Okay. And if I talk about the similarly for Gibbs energy, Gibbs energy change of mixing. So for ideal solution, that will be, or I should say for in general, for any solution, for any real solution, delta G is summation of RT times okay, this is the Gibbs energy change of mixing. Okay, so for ideal solution, we know that if I talk about the ideal solution, so for ideal solution, if you see, delta G will be equal to RT summation Xi ln Ai, and for ideal solution we know that Ai is equal to Xi, so this will be the Gibbs energy change of mixing for ideal solution. And for real solution, Ai will be equal to gamma I into Xi. Okay, so you can also write it as RT summation of Xi ln gamma I plus RT summation of Xi ln of Xi. Okay, this is Gibbs energy change of mixing for real solution. Okay, and if further if you want to study this, you can study like, you can say delta G for real solution is equal to RT summation Xi ln gamma I, RT summation Xi plus RT summation Xi ln Xi. What is that? That is the Gibbs energy change of mixing for real ideal solution. So you can say Gibbs energy change of mixing for real solution is RT summation Xi ln gamma I plus delta G of ideal solution. Okay, so in any question, if Gibbs energy change of mixing for ideal solution is given and you know the activity coefficients, you can calculate the Gibbs energy change of mixing for real solution and vice versa. With the help of Gibbs energy change of mixing for real solution, you can calculate Gibbs energy change of mixing for ideal solution as well by using activity coefficient. So that you should know. And further, if you, about this, one more thing you should know that there is a term called excess Gibbs energy that we will discuss. Okay, the excess Gibbs energy. Excess Gibbs energy, the molar excess Gibbs energy is GE, and that we can calculate as RT summation Xi ln gamma I. Okay, so further if you want to relate, you can write Gibbs energy change of mixing for real solution is equal to Gibbs energy, excess Gibbs energy plus RT summation xi ln xi, or nothing but just you can say the Gibbs energy change of mixing for ideal solution. Okay, because for ideal solution Gibbs energy change of mixing will not be zero, only the volume and enthalpy will be zero. So that you have to understand that for ideal solution enthalpy change of mixing, volume change of mixing will be zero, which means for ideal solution partial molar volume of any component and its molar volume will be same. Similarly, the partial molar enthalpy of any component and its molar enthalpy will be same for ideal solutions, but not for the Gibbs energy. If you are mixing any two components, then the Gibbs energy, partial molar Gibbs energy and molar Gibbs energy of the component will be different for sure. Okay, as you can see, even for the ideal solution it was not zero. Okay, and one more thing here you can understand, like xi will be what? Xi will be less than 1 obviously. Okay, and if xi is less than 1, then ln of any fractional value will be negative. So you can see that delta G will be negative for ideal solution always. Whatever value you will get, that has to be a negative value. Okay, so this is Gibbs energy change of mixing and excess Gibbs energy for you. Okay, similarly there is one more thing, that is entropy change of mixing. Entropy change of mixing. Okay, so entropy change of mixing we can calculate as delta S is equal to minus R summation of xi ln xi. So when you add two or more components, okay, how their entropy is going to change for in the mixture, that you can calculate by using this expression for ideal solution. This is for ideal solution. For ideal solution. Okay, and as you can see, ln xi has to be negative, negative will become positive, so delta S has to be positive. It means for ideal solution mixing has to be spontaneous, and if Gibbs energy is negative, it also means that in ideal solution mixing is one spontaneous process. Okay, so I hope all of you know that delta G is negative and delta S is positive. That means that is a spontaneous process. So for ideal solution mixing is always a spontaneous process. Okay, so I hope that is clear to all of you, and this is all about the property change of mixing that we have to understand. And one more thing you should know, what is property change of mixing? See, property change of mixing is defined or calculated based on the composition of the component. As you can see, based on everywhere we wrote delta M is equal to summation of xi mi bar minus mi. Okay, so here you can see the composition and the partial molar properties and molar properties of the components are included. So property change of mixing is always defined based on the composition and molar properties of the components in pure form as well as in solution. That is, we can say the partial molar properties and molar properties of the component. So this is all about the property change of mixing. Okay, and it's very simple and easy to understand. Okay, for this topic there was a numerical, there were several numericals, but one direct numerical was asked in last year paper, okay, in 2019. Otherwise every time they ask the MCQ type questions only. And what was that numerical, that we can see. Like this was the numerical 123, if you see this. In question 123, it is given that for a binary system, volume, molar volume of the component is V is equal to this value. This is given, and you have to calculate the volume change of mixing at x equal to 0.5. So it means XA and XB both are 0.5. Okay, and I have to calculate the volume change of mixing. So there are two ways to calculate that. One is hard way. Hard way is you have to write volume change of mixing like this according to the definition, and it will be like x1 V1 bar minus V1 plus x2 V2 bar minus V2. Okay, V is given, so with the help of this V you can calculate V1 bar, you can calculate V2 bar, and then with the help of them you can calculate V1 and V2, put those values, you will get your answer. Second method is the second definition. The second definition was delta V is equal to V minus summation of Vi into Xi. So from there volume change of mixing will be V minus x1 V1 minus x2 V2. In that case you just need to calculate the V1 and V2. Okay, you don't need to worry about the V1 bar and V2 bar. And how to calculate V1 and V2? That's very simple. V1, V2, what is the meaning? V1 is molar volume of pure component 1. V2 is molar volume of pure. So here one thing should be clear in your mind. Like here if V is given, for example in this question 30XA plus 20XB plus XAXB times of 15XA minus 7XB. That was the molar volume of the solution given. Molar volume of the solution means that is how the molar volume of solution will be calculated. Molar volume of the solution will be calculated based on the molar volumes of component 1 and 2 or their partial volume. Okay, so that you have to understand. Means every component do some contribution in the total property of the system. So this total molar volume of the solution will be based on the contribution of A and B, volume of A and B solution. So here in this molar volume, if you put XA equal to 1, that means XB will be 0. So this V will be equal to VA. That is the molar volume of component A. That you can check anytime. Okay. Similarly, if you put XA equal to 0 and XB equal to 1, so this V will be equal to VB, the molar volume of component B. It's very simple to calculate their molar volume. Okay, so in this equation just put these values, you will get your answer. So this is a logic which we apply just like the partial pressure. In a system we know that total pressure is the summation of partial pressure P1 bar plus P2 bar. If I want to calculate P1 bar only, what I do? In the container I removed all the component, only component 1 remains. Okay, and if I am removing all the other components, that means x2, y2, x3, all these values are I am putting 0. Okay, and x1 will be equal to 1. So this P will become equal to P1 bar mathematically. Okay, so that's how we used to calculate the partial pressures. Similarly, just by that method we are here calculating the molar properties of the components. Okay, so that one thing should be clear to you. Now here V is given already. So if you put XA equal to 1 means XB is 0. So V1 will be equal to 30. If you put x2 equal to 1 and x1 0, you will get V2, that will be equal to 20 here as you can see. Okay, so just put these values in the equation, you will get your answer. Simple. And this question was there for 2 marks. Okay, so not a big difficult question. In solution thermo we every time get easy questions only. The thing is we should know the meaning of each and every term and the appropriate equations which we have to use. If you use this, you will get the answer in maximum 30 seconds. And if you use this expression, it will take 4 or 5 minutes. Okay, because you have to calculate V1 bar, V2 bar, and then you have to solve. So it will take some time. Okay, so this is the simple solution thermodynamics for you. So I hope these property change of mixing and all these things are clear to all of you. Okay. Similarly, there was one more question. Maybe that is on page number 14. Okay, it is on 11. 55 and 65 or 54, 55, I don't know. Yeah, 55 and 56. This is the question. Here you have to find out the activity coefficient and then you have to calculate the excess Gibbs energy. So we know that excess Gibbs energy is what? Okay, excess Gibbs energy is RT summation xi ln gamma I. So for a binary mixture it will become RT x1 ln gamma 1 plus RT x2 ln gamma 2. So ln gamma 1 gamma 2 you can calculate by using modified Raoult's law. That's not a big deal for you. Okay, like here methanol water system, we know that Pi bar that can be written as Yi into total pressure, that is equal to gamma I xi and PIV. So gamma I will be equal to Yi into total pressure over xi into PIV. So here if you see x1 y1 x2 x1 y1 is given, x2 y2 you can calculate, P1V P2V is already given, total pressure is also given. Okay, so you can calculate gamma 1 gamma 2. Just put those values here, you will get excess Gibbs energy. So it's simple, that's how we can calculate the values. Okay, we don't need to do anything extra. So every time we get the easiest numericals only. Okay, the thing is you just need to know what is the meaning of the terms and how to put the values in the equation. Okay, calculation I hope all of you can do. That's not a big deal. So this is all about the excess properties and property change of mixing. Last but not the least is the chemical reaction engineering. Okay, so in chemical reaction engineering, in chemical reaction equilibrium, engineering नहीं, वो तो बाद में होगा अलग से. Chemical reaction equilibrium. Okay, so in chemical reaction equilibrium, there are few things which should be clear to you. Like suppose I have a reaction A plus BB gives CC plus DD. Okay, so in that chemical reaction AB are the reactants, C and D are the products. So one thing is here that is called extent of reaction, also known as reaction coordinate. Can be denoted by zeta. What is reaction coordinate? What is extent of reaction? Okay, so I hope you understand the meaning of coordinate means basically what? Coordinate we use to basically locate something. Okay, if you know the coordinates of any place or any venue, you can easily locate that. Okay, so similarly reaction coordinate means the value which help us to find out the extent of reaction, that reaction has progressed up to which extent. Okay, that we can calculate with the help of conversion easily, but a reaction coordinate gives us variety and more precise values. Okay, because conversion has its own limitations. How? See, suppose I have a feed in which I have 10 moles of nitrogen and 20 moles of hydrogen. Okay, and there is a reaction is N2 plus 3S2 gives 2NH3. Reaction is going on. So suppose conversion of nitrogen is given 0.5, that is 50%. So it means 5 moles of nitrogen has reacted. Initially we have 5 moles of nitrogen, 20 moles of hydrogen, 0 moles of ammonia. Finally, 10 moles of nitrogen we have. Okay, finally 50% nitrogen is achieved. So it means 5 moles of nitrogen has reacted. So remaining will be 5. For hydrogen, let's see, 1 mole nitrogen react with 3 mole hydrogen. So 5 moles of nitrogen is reacting. 5 mole nitrogen reacted. Okay, so 5 mole nitrogen will react with 15 mole of nitrogen. So remaining moles of hydrogen will be 5 only. 20 minus 5, 15, that is 5. 1 mole nitrogen gives 2 mole ammonia, 5 mole nitrogen will give 10 moles of ammonia. Okay, so here if you see conversion of hydrogen, what is the conversion of hydrogen? That is moles of hydrogen reacted divided by total moles. So you can see that is about 75%. It is 50%. Okay, and what is the conversion for ammonia? If someone asks you calculate the conversion of ammonia, okay, you will say not possible because ammonia is a product, and with the help of product, ammonia is a product and conversion is a parameter which is defined only for the reactants. Okay, so for product, for ammonia we can't define the conversion. So this is the limitation. Second, conversion can't be greater than 1. It has to be between 0 to 1 only. Okay, so and here we can see there are more than 2 reactants. Conversion is different. It could be same, it could be different as well. Okay, if I make 30 moles of hydrogen, then in the feed if I make 30 moles of hydrogen, then the both of the components will be same. Okay, so that I hope you know from process calculation. If feed is in stoichiometric proportion, then conversion for all the reactants will be same, and if feed is not in stoichiometric proportion, then conversion for all the reactants will be different. Okay, so here since feed was not in stoichiometric proportion, so conversion was different. So if I want to calculate the extent of reaction based on nitrogen, it is something, based on hydrogen, it is something else, and based on ammonia, I can't, based by using conversion only. So that's why I need some other parameter which I can use anywhere, either on the reactant side as well as on the product side. Because if I am talking about the extent of reaction, it means whatever is present in the reaction that can help me, that should help me to find out the location. For example, all of us are sitting in a train, and that train is right now at New Delhi railway station. So the coordinates of us, individual, and the coordinates of train are same. That is New Delhi railway station. And if I put that train from New Delhi railway station to suppose in London, okay, so the coordinates of train and for all of us individuals will be same again. So similarly, if I am talking about the reaction, then the coordinates for each and every component has to be same. So that's why I talk about the extent of reaction, the reaction coordinate, which I can define as delta Ni over nu I. Delta Ni means, I hope you know, delta means final minus initial value. So here you can see easily. If I talk about the extent of reaction here, so for nitrogen, final value minus initial value. Final value means 5, initial value is 10 divided by stoichiometric coefficient of nitrogen. And I hope you know that for reactants, stoichiometric coefficients are negative, for products they are positive. So it will be minus 1. For hydrogen, final value minus initial value, 5 minus 20 over minus 3, the stoichiometric coefficient. Similarly for ammonia, final value minus initial value over stoichiometric coefficient, that is 2. And you can see in all these cases, this value is 5. Same. So it means reaction coordinate, extent of reaction help me, give me variety to calculate the extent of reaction based on any reactant. And it is same for all the components as well as for the reaction, which has to be, logically it has to be same, and it is coming out to be same as well. Okay, so this is the difference between extent of reaction and conversion. Okay, and if I talk about the units, conversion is unitless parameter. It does not have any unit, dimensionless parameter. But if I talk about the extent of reaction, is it a dimensionless parameter? See, nu I, stoichiometric coefficient is unitless, we know that. Delta Ni, units are mole. So extent of reaction is not dimensionless. This was a question they have already asked in GATE exam for 1 mark in MCQ. The extent of reaction, option A will be different for reactant and product. B, it will be same for reactant and products, something like that. C, dimensionless. D, none of the above. ऐसा कुछ options थे. So we have to know that it should, extent of reaction can be greater than 1. It could be greater than 1. It could be, it will be same for reactant and product. plus it will have some units. Okay, and how can you calculate the extent of reaction for any reaction? See, for any given reaction in this entire world, if you know the initial feed composition, the initial moles and the final moles, okay, and in final moles you don't need to know the value of each and every component, no. Even in final moles, if you know the value of only one component, then you can calculate the extent of reaction easily. Okay, so I hope that is clear to all of you. Now, with the help of extent of reaction, one more thing is, see here, if you see, delta Ni will be equal to nu I into zeta. Delta Ni means final moles of I minus initial moles of I. Okay, so Ni, final moles of component I, will be equal to Ni naught plus nu I into zeta. Okay, and if I want to calculate the final total moles of reaction mixture, final total moles of reaction mixture, that is N, what is that? That will be the sum of Ni in the mixture at the final moles of all the components. You will get the final total moles. Okay, so if you put that value Ni here, it is Ni naught plus nu I into zeta, as you can see. Okay, so here the equation will become summation of Ni naught will be N naught, the initial total moles of reaction mixture, initial total moles of reaction mixture, plus summation of nu I into zeta. We know that zeta will be same for all the components, so we can take out zeta from summation. So summation of nu I will be what? All of us know that summation of nu I will be overall stoichiometric coefficient. Okay, overall stoichiometric coefficient. So you can write, it will be nu into zeta. So by using these two equations, you can easily calculate the final moles or the final total moles of any reaction mixture. If you want to know the mole fraction, then I hope all of you know that mole fraction is what? Moles of component I divided by total moles. So just put these values here. It will be Ni naught plus nu I into zeta over N naught plus nu into zeta. So by using this expression, you can calculate the mole fraction as well. So you should know, in this expression, the numerator is representing final moles of component I and denominator is representing final total moles of reaction mixture. Okay, so that is the mole fraction in terms of extent of reaction. Okay. Now the equilibrium constant, that is denoted by K. So for equilibrium constant there are various things which we should know. The most important thing is, for any chemical reaction like AA plus BB gives CC plus DD, we can define the equilibrium constant in terms of activity. That is product summation AI power nu I. Okay, you should know that. It is always activity, equilibrium constant is always defined in terms of activity of the components. Okay, because activity means the effective concentration. Okay, what is the meaning of effective concentration here? Effective concentration means that part of the total concentration which is participating in process. Okay, for example, 10 moles of A I have fed and only 7 moles reacted. So effective concentration will be 0.7, 7 by 10. Okay, so like that you have to understand. And it is also can be denoted by Ka. capital K, that is the equilibrium constant in terms of activity. And what is the meaning of product summation? I hope you know that. Product summation means AA power nu A into AB power nu B into AC power nu C into AD power nu D. Okay. So we know that for products stoichiometric coefficients are positive, so it will be AC power C, AD power D, and for reactants they are negatives over AA power A and AB power B. So that's how we can define the equilibrium constant. Okay, and now we have the different forms of equilibrium constant as well. Okay, and let's see what are those different forms. Okay, simple. We know that, see, in this part we will be able to revise the entire solution thermo one more time. Okay, so all of us know that activity of any component I in solution can be defined as fugacity of component I in solution to the fugacity of I in solution. Sorry, at standard state. Okay, so if you remember here, K, that is product summation AI power nu I. So if I put AI, it will be Fi cap over Fi naught power nu I. Okay, and we know that for ideal solutions, if the reaction mixture is ideal, then Fi naught, that is the fugacity of I at a standard state, will be equal to 1 bar. That is the criteria of standard state for chemical reaction equilibrium. So if Fi oh my god, इस मार्कर में कोई भी प्रॉब्लम आ गई है. If Fi naught is 1 bar, then capital K will be equal to product summation Fi cap power nu I, or you can say that is Kf. Product summation Fi cap power nu I is capital Kf, that is in terms of fugacity. So if my standard state is 1 bar, for ideal solutions at standard state, at standard state. Okay, and even if you don't have any ideal solution, forget about that, doesn't matter. Okay, just the standard state. Solution could be real as well, doesn't matter. Okay, if standard state is 1 bar, okay, at a standard state equal to 1 bar, okay, that means Fi naught will be 1, so K will be equal to Kf. Okay, and Kf means product summation Fi cap power nu I. Now further we know that, so at standard state 1 bar, K will be equal to Kf, that you should know. So we know that Fi cap is equal to phi I cap into Pi bar. Okay, so if you put that value here, so Kf will become product summation phi I cap into Pi bar power nu I. And if you break them and you write them like product summation phi I cap power nu I Pi bar power nu I, then you should know product summation phi I cap power nu I means K phi, that is equilibrium constant in terms of fugacity coefficient, and product summation Pi bar power nu I means equilibrium constant in terms of partial pressure. that is equal to Kf. Now remember, in any solution, if fugacity coefficient is given for different components, then for the chemical reaction you have to use that value of fugacity coefficient here to find out the value of K phi. What will be K phi? If you want to write, you can write K phi as fugacity coefficient of C power C, fugacity coefficient in solution of D power D over fugacity coefficient of A power A in solution into fugacity coefficient of B in solution power B, like this. Similarly for Kp you can write. Okay, you have to calculate K phi. Okay, but if the solution is ideal, for ideal solution, we know that phi I cap has to be 1. That means K phi will be 1. And if K phi is 1, then Kf will be equal to Kp. If K phi is 1, then Kf will be equal to Kp. So in any question, if you need to use the value of Kp, okay, and you don't know what is the value of Kp, then see, K you can calculate or it will be given. K will be given with the, if standard state is 1 bar, you can calculate Kf because K will be equal to Kf. If standard state is something else like 2 bar, so just put Fi not equal to 2 bar. Okay, because we know that at a standard state system behaves ideally. So if system behaves ideally, then F naught must be equal to P naught. So if P naught is 2 bar, means the standard state is at 2 bar, then you have to use F naught equal to 2 bar. I hope this point is still clear to all of you. Okay, so then you will get K and Kf from K. If it is 1 bar, then simply Kf and K will be same. And then now check for the phi. If that is non-ideal solution, phi I cap will be given. So you can calculate K phi and from there you will get Kp. Okay. If that is an ideal solution, then K phi will be 1. Thus, K will be equal to Kf and Kf is equal to Kp. So ultimately you can say K is equal to Kp. Simple. Okay. Now further, if you want to do some arrangement, you can do that. That's not a big deal. Okay, like here if you see, we know that Pi bar is equal to Yi into total pressure. So Kp will be product summation Pi bar, instead of Pi bar just write Yi into total pressure power nu I. And we know that total pressure will be same for all of the components, so you can take out total pressure outside this. So Kp will become product summation Yi power nu I into P to the power summation of nu I. All these powers will add obviously. So you can say Kp is equal to product summation Yi power nu I means capital Ky, equilibrium constant in terms of mole fraction, into total pressure power nu, as summation of nu I means overall stoichiometric coefficient. So if given pressure is 1 bar, standard state is 1 bar, and that is an ideal solution, so K will be equal to Kf, that is equal to Kp, that will be equal to Ky. If you want to calculate equilibrium constant in terms of concentration, similarly you can do that, as we know that Pi bar is equal to Ci into RT. So just put those values, you will get relation between Kp and Kc. That will be like Kp is equal to Kc into RT power nu. Okay, like that you can calculate, and Kc will be the product summation Ci power nu. So these are the different forms of equilibrium constant. I hope it is clear to all of you and you can use them as per your convenience. Okay. Now how to calculate K? See, it is simple. For any chemical reaction, suppose we have AA plus BB gives CC plus DD. Okay. If you have given the standard Gibbs energy formation of each and every component, okay, then you can calculate the standard Gibbs energy of the reaction by using this equation. From standard Gibbs energy of formation from any component, you can calculate the standard Gibbs energy of the reaction. Okay, like here if I want, you can write it as nu A into delta G naught Fa plus nu B into delta G naught Fb plus nu C into delta G naught Fc plus nu D into delta G naught Fd. So nu C, nu D will be positive, so you can say D into delta G naught of Fd plus C into delta G naught of Fc. For A and B, nu A, nu B will be negative, so they will be like minus B into delta G naught of Fb minus A into delta G naught of Fa. So that's how you can calculate the standard Gibbs energy of the reaction. Okay, and if you know the standard Gibbs energy of the reaction, then there is a relation between standard Gibbs energy of the reaction and equilibrium constant, that is minus RT ln K. That is the equilibrium constant K in terms of activity, mean equilibrium constant. Okay, so if standard state is 1 bar, K will be equal to Kf, and if ideal solution, then Kf will be equal to Kp. So that's how you will get Kp. This K will be equal to Kp. But only and only if that standard state is 1 bar and we have ideal solution. Okay. And here, one more thing you should know about the equilibrium constant, that equilibrium constant is this. So here you can see that ln K is equal to minus of delta G naught by RT. Okay. So here if you want to see the effect of temperature, then obviously if I want to see the effect of temperature, then I will keep all the parameters constant, all the other parameters constant like pressure, composition, volume, concentration, etc. So just differentiate this with respect to temperature, like pressure is constant and all other parameters are constant. It will be d upon dt of minus delta G naught over RT. So when we do the effect of temperature on fugacity, then there is a one thing in derivation that I hope all of you should know, that d by dt of G upon T is equal to minus H upon T square. So this is minus delta G naught, so it will become plus delta H naught upon R T square. So this is the effect of temperature on equilibrium constant. Okay, and in chemical reaction engineering, when we will talk about the CRE in that subject, this equation we named as Van't Hoff equation. Okay, because if you integrate this equation from state 1 to state 2, then you will get equilibrium constant at temperature T2 to the equilibrium constant at temperature T1 is equal to delta H naught over R 1 over T1 minus 1 over T2. So by using this expression, we calculate the effect of temperature on equilibrium constant, and we also can calculate the standard heat of reaction if we know these values. Okay, here the assumption is standard heat of reaction is independent of temperature. Okay. Similarly here, if you want to do the effect of pressure, so I will keep all the parameters constant, including temperature, composition and concentration, etc. So here if you do, so you will get d ln k over dp is equal to d by dp of minus delta G naught over RT. This is one very important thing regarding your interview as well as GATE exam that you should know. Like temperature is constant, R is already a constant, delta G naught will also be a constant value, because delta G naught is the Gibbs energy change at standard state, and for any system we can have only one standard state. Okay, because for any system it can behave ideally only at one condition, at one state, and that is the standard state. Okay, it can't behave ideally at different multiple stages. So everything on right is constant, so this value will come out to be 0. It means the variation in equilibrium constant with respect to pressure is 0. Means equilibrium constant is not changing with pressure. So I can say equilibrium constant K is independent of temperature. Sorry, pressure. Independent of pressure. Okay, so that is one useful point which you should know. People ask why equilibrium constant is not the function of pressure. So this is the explanation you should know. Okay, and you can see that here it has nothing to do with the phase of the reaction, whether it is gas phase or liquid phase. It is always independent of pressure, be it a gaseous phase or be it a liquid phase reaction. Okay, and similarly here one thing which we discuss in CRE, chemical reaction engineering subject, but still I am telling you here in brief that you should know. Like I hope all of you know that for endothermic reaction, standard heat of reaction will be positive. Standard heat of reaction will be positive. That means as you increase the temperature, you can see equilibrium constant K will also increase. Okay. Similarly, for exothermic reactions, delta H naught is negative. So you can see that as you increase the temperature, equilibrium constant K will decrease. Okay, so this is the effect of temperature on equilibrium constant. Okay, for endothermic and exothermic reactions. And if delta H naught is 0, see, in this universe till now we haven't get any such equation where delta H naught is 0. Okay, every reaction has some delta H for sure. Why? Because that thing we can also verify from Arrhenius law. Like if you know what is our endothermic and what is exothermic reaction, people say that in common school language that endothermic reactions are those where heat is required and exothermic reactions are those where heat is released. Okay, but you are a chemical engineer, so you answer like that. Means why heat is required and why heat is released. So you should know. If you know the Arrhenius plot, on y-axis we have enthalpies, on x-axis we have reaction path, or basically the extent of reaction. Okay, one plot could be like this and one plot could be like this. I hope you know this is reactant side, this is product state, this is transition state, reactant, transition state and product. Okay, so here if you see the enthalpy difference between reactant and product, this is called the standard heat of reaction. And we know that delta H naught means final value minus initial value. Final value be for product and initial value has to be for reactant. Okay. at standard state. Okay. So here you can see in this case, this is the extent of reaction. Final value P is less than that of for R, means delta H naught will be negative in this case. Okay, and here in this case delta H naught has to be positive because final value of enthalpy of product will be more than that of our reactant. So it means this is exothermic reaction and that is endothermic reaction. Okay, exothermic reactions are those where enthalpy of the reactants are more than that of for the products. That's why whatever extra energy we have, that releases during the reaction per mole. Okay, in endothermic reactions, enthalpy of the reactant is less than that of for the product. That's why we require some additional heat to achieve this state. Okay, so this is the reason in endothermic reaction heat is absorbed and in exothermic reaction heat is released. So you should answer like that as a chemical engineer, as I told you. Okay. Otherwise, what is the benefit of doing engineering? They can recruit the school boys directly. IOC, LP, ONGC, all these companies are going in 11, 12 and recruiting those people. Okay. So if you have done BTech, then you must have some extra knowledge which can justify that yes, I am an engineer. Okay. Only then you will be able to crack the interviews. There are so many people in this last year 2020 who are having from our institute only. I don't know about all other 100 students, but from our students there are few students who were having rank in single digit and double digit. Okay, but didn't get selected in IOCL. Okay, what could be the reason? I don't know, but most probably, as the history suggests, they will not be able to answer the questions in a proper manner as they are supposed to be. That's why they got rejected and didn't get selected in IOCL. So in GATE exam, getting single digit or double digit rank is not guarantee that you will be selected. Yeah, your chances will be more. The probability of your selection will be more as compared to the 100, 200 ranker. Okay. But if your rank is good, then obviously you should answer like that. If you are not answering like that, then obviously who will select you? Anyways, we will not go into that. We are here for GATE 2021 revision. So this is the effect of temperature on equilibrium constant, effect of pressure on equilibrium constant. Okay. So I should tell you that there was a question in early 2000 in GATE exam for 1 mark. Equilibrium constant, 4 options. Function of temperature dependent, temperature pressure dependent, like that. There were 4 options. In GATE official answer key, the answer was equilibrium constant is the function of temperature and pressure, which was incorrect. So for your information, in GATE exam as well, official answer key could be incorrect. Okay, that was a mistake from their side, and they rectified that mistake in just 2-3 years back. There was the same question one more time for equilibrium constant, and they mentioned in that official answer key that it is the function of temperature only. Okay, so we should know all these things. If we know the concept, K can never be the function of pressure. Okay, and since equilibrium constant K is not the function of pressure, if you know the 11th, 12th class study in physical chemistry, you must have studied that rate constants K1, K2. If you know the equilibrium constant can be written like K1 upon K2, where small K1 and small K2 are the rate constants of forward reaction and backward reaction. So in that class we study that for any chemical reaction rate constants, specific reaction rates are the special case of equilibrium constant. Okay, so since equilibrium constant is independent of pressure, that is why the rate constants are also independent of pressure. They are the function of temperature only. Okay, so you should know rate constants are independent of pressure. That is why capital K equilibrium constant is independent? No, that is incorrect. Actually, equilibrium constant K is independent of pressure. That's why rate constants are independent. This is correct. Okay, so this thing should be clear in all of your mind. Okay, so this is all about the chemical reaction engineering equilibria part. Okay, nothing else. There is one more thing, is effect of pressure and temperature, effect of pressure and inerts on equilibrium. Okay, so for that I am not doing any calculation, or I am not giving you the basic idea how you can directly understand that whether on increasing pressure it will change or not, or on increasing inert it will change or not. Okay, simple, to keep it simple. Okay, because we don't have much time to do all that stuff in the class. Remember, in the case, like there is one case, if overall stoichiometric coefficient is negative, for example N2 plus 3S2 gives 2NS3. Okay, so see here, overall stoichiometric coefficient is -2. I hope you can understand. And if overall stoichiometric coefficient is -2, then from CRE we know that the volume expansion factor, which is delta into YA naught, and delta means nu over A YA naught, will be negative as well. And if epsilon A is negative, then we know that V is equal to V naught 1 plus epsilon A XA. So V will be less than V naught. Okay, it means if I go in forward direction, then volume is decreasing. And if volume is decreasing, then from ideal gas law, from Boyle's law, we know that PV is constant. So P is inversely proportional to volume. If V is decreasing, it means in forward direction, pressure should increase. Okay, so if I want the high equilibrium conversion, or if I want to go in the forward direction, then I must keep the high pressure in such scenarios. And if I want to keep the high pressure, so remember that the effect of inert and effect of pressure will be opposite. So if pressure I want to keep high, then I have to keep low inerts. Means I have to remove the inerts from feed. To achieve the higher equilibrium conversion. Similarly, the second case, if overall stoichiometric coefficient is positive, for example, for decomposition of phosphine, in this reaction if you see, this is 6H2. Overall stoichiometric coefficient is equal to 7 minus 4, 3. So here epsilon A will be positive. And if epsilon A is positive, that means volume will be greater than V naught. V will be greater than V naught. It means if I go in forward direction, so volume is increasing. And if volume is increasing, that means pressure should decrease. So if we have a reaction something like that, that means I have to keep high pressure for high equilibrium conversion. Okay, and high pressure means I have to keep, pressure is decreasing, so we have to keep low pressure. We have to keep low pressure. And as we have to keep low pressure, so we have to keep high inerts. Means I have to add inerts to the feed. Okay. And if overall stoichiometric coefficient is 0, then equilibrium conversion and equilibrium constant both will be independent of pressure and inerts. K तो होता ही है, K को तो भूल जाओ, K की बात ही नहीं कर रहे हैं, हम यहाँ पे बात कर रहे हैं equilibrium conversion के लिए. Okay, for high equilibrium conversion, not for the constant. Because for constant, K is the function of temperature only, not for the inerts and pressure. Okay, so I hope this thing can help you to solve these kind of question and understand all these stuff. Okay, there are several questions which they have asked in GATE exam from this topic. Okay, so let's do one or two questions here, and all other questions I hope you can do it by yourself. Like question number 54, इसी से start कर लेते हैं. Okay, in 54 it is given that paper phase C2H4 is reacted like this. Okay, attains equilibrium at 400 Kelvin and 3 bar. The standard Gibbs energy is the 4000 joule per mole. For 2 moles of an equimolar feed of ethylene and steam, the equation in the terms of extent of reaction at equilibrium is. So we know that Kp is equal to Ky into P to the power nu. Here nu will be equal to -1 and P is equal to 3 bar as given. Okay, so what will be the equilibrium constant? K we can calculate by using this expression. So when you put the values, you will get K is equal to, अरे calculator कहाँ है मेरा? Just a minute, I am coming. Okay, now let's solve. E to the power minus delta G. Delta G is 4000 joule per mole. R 8.314 joule per mole per Kelvin into T, that is 400 Kelvin. So we will get K is equal to 0.3. Okay. So here nothing is given. So we will, one thing you have to understand, see here pressure in this equation, this P should be in bar always, because the standard state was in bar, 1 bar. Okay, so if they say 400 Kelvin and 3 atm, so you have to change the P in bar, only then you can use. Since it was in bar only, so we have directly used that. So that thing should be clear to you. So K will be equal to Kf and Kp. Nothing is given about the solution, so we will consider that as an ideal solution. So Kp will be 0.3 directly. So Kp is 0.3. Ky is the product summation Yi power nu I. So for this reaction you can write it as Y of C2H5OH divided by Y of C2H4 into Y of H2O, multiply by 3 power minus 1. Okay, so 3 power minus 1, that is 1 by 3, and you can take 3 on left hand side, so it will multiply. So it will become 0.9 is equal to this value. So what is Y C2H5, all these values? See, we know that Yi is equal to Ni naught plus nu I into zeta, and n naught divided by n naught plus nu into zeta. So here Y of C2H4, it was given that we have total 2 moles of feed, equimolar. So it means 1 mole C2H4 and 1 mole H2O. So initial moles of C2H4 will be 1. Stoichiometric coefficient of C2H4 is -1. Zeta. Total moles 2. Overall stoichiometric coefficient is also -1. So minus zeta. Similarly, Y of H2O, you can get initial moles of H2O 1 and Y of C2H5OH. Initial moles of C2H5OH is not given, so we will consider that as 0. A stoichiometric coefficient of C2H5OH 1, so it will be zeta upon 2 minus zeta, because if you remember, the denominator part represents the final total moles of reaction mixture, and obviously final total moles has to be same for all the components, so we don't need to calculate the denominator term each and every time. Okay, we can use the same value always. Put these values here, so it will be zeta upon 2 minus zeta divided by 1 minus zeta upon 2 minus zeta whole square. All divided, 2 minus zeta will get cancelled. Zeta into 2 minus zeta upon 1 minus zeta whole square equal to 0.9. Okay, so if you want to write like this, you can say zeta into 2 minus zeta upon 1 minus zeta whole square minus 0.9 equal to 0. That is my answer, and that is option D. D is my correct answer. Okay, डिग्री ऑफ फ्रीडम टॉपिक नहीं हुआ? कितनी बार कराएं भाई, थर्मो की क्लास है. I have already uploaded the video of degree of freedom on YouTube, so you can watch there and you will be able to understand, no problem. In case you are not able to get the link, just message me, I will share the link with all of you. Okay, you can watch from there. और नहीं हुआ, अब बोल रहे हैं आफ्टर सो मेनी ईयर्स कोई टॉपिक नहीं हुआ, ऐसा पॉसिबल ही नहीं है. अभी कराया था लास्ट क्लास में भी मैंने, नॉट क्विक रिवीजन क्लास बट इन अ बैच, जो लास्ट क्लास हुई थी. एनीवेज, सो I hope it is clear, and that's how you can solve all the numericals related to this topic. Okay, it's very easy. So this is all about the chemical reaction equilibria part, guys, and all the other questions are also like this, which you can solve easily. That's not a big deal. Okay, so this, I hope all these things which we have covered in solution thermo, these can help you to solve all the numericals. Okay, we have covered all the important part and all the sections of solution thermodynamics which are supposed to be covered. Okay, so but I hope you can solve all the numericals now. Still, if you find any difficulty in any of the numerical, just mention that to the office, or the office on call on the office number, or mail on the office emails. We will provide you the solutions, video solutions of those numericals, because we have all the videos link solutions of all the GATE previous year questions from last 20 years. Okay, so anyways, that's all for the day. See you in the next class. Good luck with your preparations. All the best, and tada.